My earliest memory of fear goes all the way back to when I was 3 years old. I still remember how terrified I was to walk down the aisle. Not as a bride, but as a flower girl, of course. You would assume that any 3-year-old girl would be delighted to wear a big white puffy dress and throw petals in the air, making a big mess, but not me. I was actually very afraid to walk by myself and not be able to find my mom at the end of the road. At the age of 7, my parents had a hunch that my shyness was not necessarily emotional, so they took me to the doctor and found out that I had sight problems. I couldn't see from afar. And for that reason, I was so terrified to leave my mom's side at weddings, birthday parties, you name it. My comfort zone was defined by a 10-foot radius circle that surrounded my mom or my dad. And after that visit to the doctor, I had a new fear, this time related to self-image. We all have a comfort zone, and we know it damn well because we live there most of the times. We know exactly where it starts and where it ends. They're unique to each individual as their personalities or bodies are. The things that make me uncomfortable may be the things that you do on a daily basis, like frying food, super scary, spoiling oil. Come on. Riding a bike around the city, mostly New York City, or not, and getting a Brazilian wax. Ouch. Comfort zones can change from one day to the other. They can expand as we face our fears, which is awesome, or they can contract as we limit ourselves. One day, we love to ski. The next day, we're not so sure. And suddenly, something that used to be in our comfort zones no longer is. Who here has experienced something like that? Please raise your hand. You see, we've all been there. Seems like the older we get, the more afraid we become for some reason. By age 26, I had such a reduced comfort zone that if I kept going in that direction, I was going to end up being afraid to leave my apartment by age 60. And it's not like I was afraid of 1, 2, or 3 things. I was afraid to feel the fear. At a very young age, I understood that my limits were defined by my comfort zone. And I not only accepted that, but I embraced it, made it part of who I was. So every single choice that I made was based on fear. I would grow apart from friends who owned big dogs to become closer to those who owned turtles or fish as pets. I constantly reminded myself, thank God I'm female. Seriously. If I was a boy, I would have been bullied like crazy for being so fearful. So my motto was always better safe than sorry. I never really hid the fact that I was scared of things. It was the perfect excuse to stay away from uncomfortable situations. But now I realize that I was just being cowardly sexist against my own gender. As a way to shelter myself from the world? 2 years ago, I moved to New York City to do a master's in branding at the School of Visual Arts. New York has always been my dream. But because of my great amount of fears, I was not really enjoying the city the way you're supposed to. I was defining fear as an obstacle that I had to avoid at all costs. So by staying in my comfort zone, I started to miss out on once-in-a-lifetime experiences, on opportunities, on friendship, on life, on New York. So that's when I quickly realized that New York is not for the fearful. Last year, as part of my master's program, we were all commissioned to start a 100-day project of our choice. That's when I decided to rewrite my definition of fear. So I faced 100 fears. I recorded myself doing this every single day, and I uploaded it to YouTube for the entire world to see.
Michelle Poler decided that she was sick of living her life in fear of the unknown and the unexpected, so she decided to embrace it. Every day for 100 days, she's pledged to do something that scares her.
I'm here with Michelle Poler in Times Square, New York City, where she is living 100 days without fear.
100 miedos en 100 días.
Michelle decided to spend 100 days conquering her fears. 100 days. What I really believe that Michelle is experiencing is tapping into her inner strength that was there all along.
Most of those were pretty scary. But yeah. But uploading the videos to YouTube, a whole fear by itself. Picture this. One night, I decided I want to face my fear of doing karaoke. So I chose the one place where they have a real band, a real stage, and a real crowd. As I go through their list of songs, I realize that the only song I know from their entire book is Rolling in the Deep by Adele. They call my name and my heart is about to jump off my chest. But I'm there to face a fear, so I go up the stage, grab my mic, start my song, and shortly after I realize how bad of a singer I am. Terrible. And I still have to go through the entire song. As soon as the song is over, I hear one person who's clapping and screaming from across the room, and well, my husband was there. Great. So if you thought that that was the fear, that was the easy part. Then I would have to go home, watch my horrible footage, and edit my video. But you know what? As I was going through my video, I was like, you know what? Actually, this is not so bad.
We could have had it all.
So I showed it to my husband. And my husband looks at it and he tells me, Michelle, that doesn't count as a fear. You are replacing your voice with Adele's. How is that facing a fear? And he was so right. So I had to rework on my video, and this is what I actually had to upload to YouTube for the entire world to see. It's so embarrassing. Thanks. That makes me feel better. The truth is that every time we face a fear, we're opening a door to the unknown. And the unknown can be pretty scary, but it could also be mind-blowing. I can assure you that the fears I was most scared of were the ones I enjoyed conquering the most. The time when I did crowd surfing, I was about to pass out before the band invited me to the stage. And then it went so fast, I didn't want it to end. For the first time in my life, I felt 100%. Oh my God. I felt 100% happy to let go and not be in complete control of the situation. Stand-up comedy? Horrifying. But hearing people laugh and enjoy my sketch definitely made me realize that we cannot take ourselves too seriously, and that the more vulnerable we portray ourselves, the more we allow others to laugh with us and not at us. And when I decided to pose nude in front of a drawing class, I had a transitional sort of experience. In a matter of minutes, I went from feeling judged and self aware to understanding that maybe the things that I consider my imperfections are the things that inspire the artist the most to create. And this sort of experience made me realize how self centered we sometimes are and how hard we are on ourselves, while the rest of the world can easily find the beauty within each one of us. If only we could see ourselves from the outside and accept our imperfections. Because we may not fit society's beauty standards or ideals. Our taste and interest may be far from what's considered normal. What we expect from ourselves may be different from what others do. Maybe labels can't define us, and no description fits all of who we are. That is amazing. Let's cherish it and allow ourselves to be defined not by the things that makes us normal, but by the ones that makes us stand out. Think about Lizzie Velasquez for a second. Who here knows Lizzie? Great. So Lizzie was born with a rare syndrome in which she has 0% body fat. She could have allowed her imperfection to define her, and not in a good way. But instead of hiding herself from the public eye, she decided to become a motivational speaker and a YouTuber. She embraced her imperfection, she took advantage of it, and inspired millions of people around the world, teaching us how to grab negativity, turn it around, and use it as a ladder to climb up to our goals. In the challenge where I approach homeless people in the streets of New York to ask them what could I do for them besides giving them cash, something remarkable happened. The first person that I approached, this guy right here, he asked me to help a woman sitting across the street instead. He was worried because she looked hungry. I was surprised beyond belief. I was even ashamed to think that I was scared of doing this challenge in the first place. When I approached the woman to ask her what could I do for her, she asked me to buy food for her starving cats. They may have no material goods, but they showed me kindness is something you can't buy. For one of my final challenges, I decided to face aging. So I partnered up with Glamour magazine to have a professional makeup artist transform me into my 90-year-old self. The idea was not only to see myself in the mirror, but also to surprise my husband looking like that. And not for fun. As I went to my apartment and waited for him to come into the door, I was shaking. I was already regretting my decision about what I was doing. I didn't want to traumatize him. But when the nervous laugh and the initial shock was gone, I could feel how he was able to see beyond my physical self. I was not expecting this level of emotion, seriously. He teared up and he even told me that he was more in love than ever before. I was really not expecting this. And it gave me the confidence to age on the outside, understanding that the inside is what makes us who we really are. So, what if we start embracing the unknown, making it part of our daily lives and our decisions? It'll be like having a blind date with destiny. And blind dates are not always fun, but what if they are? What if we end up marrying our date? Always ask yourself, what's the best that could happen? A great way to get close to the unknown is by saying yes to the things you would normally say no to. And I want you to give it a shot this week, definitely. Every time someone suggests something and your immediate reaction is like, no, take that as a sign and say yes. Saying yes allowed me to expand my comfort zone to new frontiers. Things that I wouldn't dare to try a year ago became my favorite food. My fear of doing public speaking became my career, and, and saying yes, my favorite new answer. I can assure you that I've done more things in the last year than what I've done in all of my 28 years all together. It felt like if I had the longest year of my life for some reason. And no wonder. Turns out our brain puts together all the similar moments of our lives into one box, making it look like one same memory. And this makes, when you look back, seems like time flew by. But when you do different things or things differently, our brain stores these moments into separate boxes, generating new memories, making time feel longer. Think about it. You can recall a moment of you sitting in your office or brushing your teeth, but it's not one specific time that you're thinking about. It's all those moments that you did the same action put into one same memory, which is different from those special, unique moments that only happened once, like your first kiss or the time you visited Thailand. That's what happens when we're kids. We're constantly doing new things and discovering life, so time feels longer. And definitely saying yes and living out life outside of the comfort zone will not only allow you to open a world of possibilities and make your life feels longer, but it will also allow you to tap into your full potential. Abraham Maslow once said, "You will either step forward into growth or you will step back into safety." This is the psychologist that came up with the famous hierarchy of needs. At the bottom of the pyramid, we have the basic needs, the things we need to survive: food, water, shelter. If we move upwards, we will find the need for love, belonging, and self-esteem. At the top of the pyramid, we have the need for self-actualization, which is the need to reach our full potential and live a more meaningful life. I decided to look at the Maslow's theory of needs when I started to pay close attention to the behavior of people around me. I started to see friends who were desperate to get engaged, and not because they found their soulmate, but because they had a need to meet society's expectations, a need to belong. In the same way that I started to see colleagues who were miserable going every day to work, and still they would not apply anywhere else because of the fear of getting rejected and hurting their self-esteem. That's when I realized that our needs not only motivate us, but they limit us. And I started to evaluate the theory of needs, not from the perspective of motivation, but from the perspective of fear. Turns out, we're all born with a set of universal fears. No matter where you're from or how old you are, you're probably afraid of either spiders, heights, or needles. Little by little, we develop a series of cultural fears that revolve around our need for love and belonging. These set of fears are screwing us up big time. We grew up with a need to belong to society and not be considered outcasts. I want you to ask yourself, what would you do if you weren't afraid of disappointing others? Because we cannot belong and be authentic at the same time. You either dress like everybody else to be considered part of the gang, or you dress like yourself. You are completely unique, and maybe, just maybe, you start a trend. Only those who are willing to sacrifice the need to belong will differentiate themselves from the rest. And this goes for style, for ideals, attitude, purpose, and everything in between. Belonging can be amazing. That's like what's happening right now, right here. But if we're not careful, it can kill authenticity. And authenticity is the most valuable asset you as a person or as a brand could have nowadays. Our personal fears are closely related to our self-esteem need. In order to feel good about ourselves, we limit our growth. We hold ourselves back from taking risks, from trying new things that we may not be good at, or venturing into the unknown. Think about your comfort zone for a second. I want you to actually bring up the little yellow workbooks that you got and open it in two. Look to your left. You will find a circle that represents your comfort zone. I want you to, right now, if you can, write inside of the circle one skill that you feel comfortable doing. I want you to push yourself and challenge yourself more in that area that you just wrote down. And this is for you to take home, so please write as many as you'd like when you're done here in World Domination. But for now, just that one skill. Think about that and think about ways in which you can challenge yourself more in that area. Now, outside of the circle, I want you to write one skill that you would love to do, but you don't feel comfortable doing. Or worse yet, you haven't even dared to try. I want you to give it a chance this week to that skill and fail at that if necessary. And then try again and again until you make it part of your comfort zone. Do you imagine yourself feeling comfortable at doing public speaking or networking, promoting your work, or maybe mastering a new tool? So many people spend their entire life avoiding failure. For what? I realize that every time we fail, we learn, we improve, and ultimately succeed. Failure is actually pretty damn good. And did you know that 85% of the times, things don't go as bad as you imagine? In fact, they may even go in the opposite direction and surprise us. Just last month, my husband, Adam, faced his biggest fear yet. He decided to quit his job in finance to join forces with me into developing this platform to encourage others to face their fears. There we were, the night before Adam resigned. It was 4 a.m., and we were still sitting in the kitchen of our tiny New York apartment. We finished eating hours ago, but our dirty plates are still in front of us. And Adam is going through a roller coaster of emotions. And even though he loves roller coasters, the emotional ones, definitely not his favorite. One second, he's excited about the life that we have in front of us, a blank canvas full of possibilities, with the word independence written in neon lights. The next second, he's eaten alive by the fear of not being able to support ourselves and fail miserably. In that moment, I think to myself, I'm supposed to inspire him to face his fears, right? Things that this time his fear is also my fear. We would be saying goodbye to our only reliable source of income. Yeah, terrifying. So look at it this way. We had two needs here that we were trying to fulfill: stability and independence. Can we have them both? Yes. Can we have them both at the same time? Starting now? No, not really. We identified stability as a need based on fear. It would only take us back into safety and the conventional lifestyle we dreaded so much. Independence is a need based on growth and progress, something we've been dreaming about for the last couple of years. Deep down, we believe that if both of us work tirelessly on this, eventually we'll make it. But it requires time, sacrifices, and a whole lot of dedication. And my new favorite word, hustle. So the next morning, Adam gave his 4 weeks notice. And by the way, his last day at his job was the day before we travel to Portland. So can you join me on giving him a hand? It's right there. Thanks. Right? So that morning, you're awesome, by the way, thank you. That morning, Adam resigned, and shortly after, and by shortly I mean a couple of hours later, amazing things happened. We received a couple of invitations to really cool events, and 2 business opportunities came out of nowhere. The universe got the memo that we really, really wanted this to happen for us and showed us we were not alone. Of course, this didn't just magically happen. We did hustle for those, but the timing reassured us that we made the right decision and showed us also that the more uncomfortable we get, the greater the reward. So, dreaming, visualizing goals, that's a great start. But in order to achieve those things, we need to get uncomfortable. We need to prove to the universe how much we want the things we envision. Otherwise, they will remain a vision. So for months, Adam worked from 8 to 6 p.m. on his stability, and then from 6 till 2 a.m. on his independence. So you can always start by negotiating with your needs and satisfying each need to 50%. And then little by little, move towards the need that is growth-based until you can let go of fear. Look at it this way. What is it that you want now versus what do you want the most? The fear-based option, no, the growth-based option will always be the scary one. So if you're thinking about that next move and you feel the fear, my friend, you're on the right track. So don't worry. It could be all about switching careers, starting a family, losing weight, moving to a different country, or coming out. Whatever it is, do it because you want to, not because you have to. And along the way, you may discover your purpose. Which reminds me about The War of Art, a book that I read right before starting my project last year, and I would love to share a couple of lines with you. Are you born a writer? Were you put on earth to be a painter, a scientist, an apostle of peace? In the end, the question can only be answered by action. Do it or don't do it. If you were meant to cure cancer, or write a symphony, or crack cold fusion, and you don't do it, you not only hurt yourself, you hurt your children, you hurt me, you hurt the planet. Creative work is not a selfish act or a bid for attention on the part of the actor. It's a gift to the world and every being in it. Don't cheat us of your contribution. Give us what you've got. Halfway through my project, I realized that facing fears was contagious and that my actions were inspiring others to face their own fears.
Hey Michelle, my name is Marcin and I'm from Poland, and I faced the fear of writing to a girl with whom I haven't spoken to for a very long time.
I faced my fear of birds,
rejection,
sharks, skydiving,
zip lining,
cliff diving,
to get this pixie haircut,
dance like nobody's watching,
traveling solo.
I decided I wanted to do something more meaningful.
I felt accomplished and limitless.
It felt terrific.
Awesome.
Beyond amazing.
I feel so good now.
So grateful.
Learn to love myself as I am.
Now it's time for my big fears.
What started as a personal development project turned into my purpose, a social mission to encourage others to say hello to their fears. So, am I afraid of failing? You bet I am. But I am 100% more terrified of not even trying at all. They say doubt kills more dreams than failure ever will. And people still ask me, Are you afraid of things after you faced so many fears? And honestly, I'm still pretty much afraid of the world. But the only difference now is that instead of perceiving fear as an obstacle, I choose to see it as an opportunity that can lead you to uncover your next big thing. And that is the best that could happen. Thank you all so much.